This is 12 Gauge Investigative. Let's jump in.
Good morning, everybody. My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. Happy Sunday to you all. I hope that you guys had a wonderful Saturday night and that whatever you're doing at this moment, that you give a little moment of gratitude for being able to do this once again. You know, I haven't done Serenity Sunday in a while, and I thought I'd go ahead and do it because school's about to start tomorrow, and who knows how many Serenity Sundays I'll be able to do in the future because it's going to be quite fast paced. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Aquarius. Thank you for being here with me this morning. And let's hop on into this and let's get this started. Hopefully I haven't played one of these before, but if I have, it's always nice to listen to something again. Here we go.
Sometimes success is merely hanging on when others would let go. Not doing anything spectacular or out of the ordinary. Not leaping a mile or jumping over a mountain. But simply carrying on. Thomas Edison has a famous quote that's really stuck with me over the years. He says, "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." Right? How close they were to the finish line when they turned their back and said it wasn't worth it.
Have you ever been there? Have you ever been close to success and just gave up because it got too hard, because it got too complex, because it just got to that point where you felt you couldn't go forward? And that's why I'm choosing to limit my lives, because I have been there in the past and I've sabotaged my good fortunes many a times, almost getting to the end and just not focusing and losing what it was that I wanted to accomplish because I just wasn't driven enough toward the end. I don't know if you've done that or not, but if you have, you understand what it's talking about. You know, sometimes you can be so close and be so complacent that you lose the path that you've been taking all along.
It's really an interesting thing to grasp. Right? Success is seeing what others can't. It's believing when others don't. It's taking the abstract, those visions, those pictures in your head, the make-believe, and finding the courage to make them real, bring them to life. It's this constantly evolving process, and it grows a little bit every single day. Sometimes we feel that progress, we feel the momentum, we do something big and it's exciting. And sometimes the progress feels small. And then there are times when we get knocked down and we don't see it at all. We feel like because we weren't validated that we lost, that we failed, that it wasn't enough. We forget that's part of the process, that progress is a journey. And it goes when you go, and it stops when you stop. Just like that famous Dalai Lama quote, right? The only way to fail is to quit. Period. No one ever stops because they can't. They stop because they decide to. They stop because they see that huge mountain and they think that's impossible. They forget it's only made of little rocks. They stop.
That's a perfect analogy. You know, to break down these huge obstacles in our path, we must look at them as tiny particles to overcome. You know, very good point, Elizabeth. You know, when we're younger, we don't realize how easily things could have been, and we often make things bigger than they are. Have you ever heard somebody say they're given an assignment and instantly they say, "Well, I can't do that." Well, why not? Well, because I've never been good at this or I've never been good at that. Well, just because you've never been good at it does not mean that at this moment you can't overcome that and be a success at it. Simplicity sometimes just goes right over people's heads because we make everything so enormous in our minds.
Because they get so disheartened by the distance of the finish line that they forget it only takes a collection of little steps to get there. You don't have to leap the entire distance. You know, I've been there, right? This is me speaking from experience. It took me years to figure it out. And even now, life is rapidly evolving. I've poured my heart into things that, let's be honest, no one cared about. I've invested in opportunities that fell apart right in front of me. And each time it felt like the end of the world. You know, I've been lost. I've been unsure. Gotten up after things didn't go as planned, and it felt like a loser. I had to look myself in the mirror and pick myself back up off the floor. But there's one thing that I kept doing that I never thought twice about. And that's continuing on. Whether life lifted me up or it beat me down, my plan for tomorrow was always the same. Get up and try again. Keep going. And as I sat down this morning with my pen and a piece of paper, I thought, what's the one thing I would want to be told if I started out again? What's the one thing that people need to hear most? And it's to simply keep going. Keep taking steps. Because one day the world will start to make sense. And you'll look around and you will be thankful for one thing. That when most would have stopped, you didn't. When the world said no, you said yes. There is nothing so powerful.
A lot of this has to do with where you put your energy. If you put your energy toward things that don't matter, then you're never really going to see the success that you're yearning for. But if you put your energy toward things that really are building toward a manifestation, then you will eventually see a small glimmer of hope that your hard work is paying off. You know, many times in our lives, we put so much energy into people, places, and things that if it isn't instantaneous and coming back to us, we feel like a failure, like what he's talking about. We feel like nobody really cares as much as I do. Nobody really gives as much as I do. But really, we're just playing the martyr role instead of understanding that we should give without expectation of return. We should have an understanding that life is not all about us. Sometimes our lives are really good, but we don't see that because of all the chaos and turmoil that we create in it.
Powerful as a soul that refuses to back down. See, persistence is not an important thing or an essential thing. It's everything. So live as to see Not what can be lost, but what will be gained. Find that light in darkness, even if it's a flicker, even if it's a spark. See, every loss makes you a little tougher, and every instant of sadness uncovers something beautiful. Every moment of fear teaches you to be a little braver. Every broken heart opens the door to a new connection. Instead of doubting yourself, feeling inadequate in life's darkest moments, know that you need what you are going through. You are uncovering the little victories hidden in plain view. So when the world feels like too much and your patience is thin, be stronger than that voice in your head begging you to think small. Stand on every experience, the good and the bad. Let it elevate you to a beautiful tomorrow.
You know, how many times do we look for advice or we look for a motivation from another person and they hand it to you? They give it to you freely, right? But for whatever reason, your distrust and from past experiences don't allow you to have faith in what's been given to you. So you just, if you can't control it, you will destroy it. And many times that happens. It's a level of, if I can't control it, if I don't manifest it, then it's not it's not good enough for me. Then those questions that you ask, those directions that you ask from people, those suggestions, many times are just empty words because you refuse to do anything different, even if you don't believe in it. And that in itself is an obstacle for change.
If there's time, then there's time to turn things around. If there is a tomorrow, then there is hope today. The only have to be's in life are the ones we prop up and adhere to. And how interesting that oftentimes we don't even realize we're the ones holding them up. There's a simple question that I like to ask as the sun comes up and the coffee brews. Am I living today like it's an obligation or something more? Is it an automatic continuation of the past or a methodical move towards a future that lights me up? And these aren't small distinctions, right? I've lived both ways. I've felt what it's like to feel both. I remember going to work and joking around that a flat tire would be a real treat. That's not accountability. That's not control. That's essentially living life as a jellyfish floating along with the tide. And while the lack of required output, innovation, and planning may have felt like a win in the moment, or a burden lifted off my shoulders at the time, it deprived me of that which resides in the soul of every human being alive.
You know, the hardest thing a lot of people face is getting up on Monday mornings. The first thing most of them say is, "Oh, it's another Monday. We got to do this all over again." Or "Here we go again." Like I said at the very beginning, just take a moment for gratitude. The gratitude that you were able to wake today while so many breathed their last breath last night. You know, we don't know what we have until we lose it. most of the time. We take for granted that everything is going to be the same today as it was yesterday. But nothing is guaranteed in life. Nothing. We all have those moments where, in an instant, life changes for us and we don't know how to react to it because we're so caught up in what we don't have, what we haven't accomplished, in our broken dreams of yesteryear. You know, you can't go back in time. If we could, all of us would love to. We'd like to change certain things. We'd love another opportunity when things seem like if I would have just taken that choice and taken that chance, who knows where I'd be today. We all have those moments. But what are you doing with the moments and the chances that you have at this moment? Are you wasting them, waiting for a different day, waiting for a different time? Or are you doing the best you have with what you got and getting up, suiting up, and showing up?
Purpose, personal agency. See, you can only go so far, so long being the spectator of your own journey. You can only go so long looking out the window before you wonder just what it'd be like to be behind the wheel. When we put our actions up against the question, why? It astounds me how many things are done because it's what we've always done. We act like we're expected to act, think like we're expected to think, see who we're expected to see, but expected by whom? Some of my greatest breakthroughs in life emerged after being asked why by people I look up to or respect. Why have you accepted that? That's your income? Okay, great, but why? That's how you spend your day? I see. How come? And when one is tasked with looking at their own life through a magnifying glass, some hidden truths always emerge. It shines a spotlight in the corner of the room, illuminating those shadows where one can, if they look hard enough, make out the wolf in sheep's clothing. That is the phrase, because that's how I've always done it. We get in life what we accept. We are what we allow ourselves to be, and if we don't ask ourselves which mountain is worth climbing, which ocean is worth crossing, we simply float with the tides. We're at the mercy of the winds. We forfeit the mastery over our own lives that awaits if we're willing to take that wheel and navigate. So
I want to share something with you guys. And this is something that I started living my life with this on a daily basis. And it was hard to do because it takes humility and it takes humbleness. It goes, when I stopped living in the problem and began living in the answer, the problem went away. From that moment on, I've not had a single compulsion to destroy my life. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I'm disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it's supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing, happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept that my life was unmanageable, I could not stay serene, tranquil, and sober. Unless I accept life completely on life terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes. You know, it was hard for me to accept that. When I find something that's unacceptable to me, I have to ask myself, what's the problem in me? What's making me not accept this? What's making me have such chaos with this situation? Is it because I refuse to accept it as what it is without me having a hand in it? Or is it me wanting to change it to benefit myself? Usually you have problems when you try to change something that doesn't want to be changed. It is what it is. And when you accept it for that value, then you find peace. Then you find freedom.
Here are a few things to take with you. First is you are bound by nothing. The parameters you exist between are of your making. You can get in that car and drive. You can walk away and begin something new. You can entertain that vision that's been conveniently tucked away in the back of your mind. Understand that to not go is fine, but it's a decision. And perhaps a decision you'll wish you made differently. And second, difficult today liberates you tomorrow. It's easier to observe. It's easier to say how you wish things were. After all, stepping out into the fast-paced, chaotic world is tough. It's scary, it's unpredictable, but it's where you find yourself and the path that's calling your name. It's beyond the pins and needles, emerging as one jumps into the cold water, that they're able to find that evolution. If there's time, then there's time to turn things around.
If you're watching this with me this morning, do have an understanding that whatever age you are, you've made it through so much, so many trials, so many tribulations. The battles ended a long time ago, but you kept them going in your mind for whatever reason. You reignited things that you put to rest. You've unforgiven things that you forgave once for. And you continue to harbor these feelings of inadequacy for whatever reason. Make peace with yourself and accept life on life's terms, if only just for today. Have that understanding that nothing is ever perfect, but that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the imperfections to keep you going. Those are goals for change. You know, if you want to lose weight, if you want to quit drinking coffee, you want to quit drinking, sugary drinks, you want to stop doing this or that and the other, it starts with that moment where you make that decision to say, can I drink water instead of that big cup of creamy coffee? Because many people, including myself, fall into that trap. And before long, your body cannot function without that intense rush of sugar. Instead of fueling it with water, which what we're more made of, we fuel it with sugar. And before long, we're overweight, we're lethargic, we're unmotivated, and we're questing for the day when we have everything in motion to get us off the couch.
There is a tomorrow, then there is hope. today? What's the difference between simple and easy? Well, simple is straightforward, uncomplicated. Easy, on the other hand, means achieved without great effort. The difference between those two words is subtle, but essential to understand. One deals with the complexity of an outcome. The other, your will and determination to achieve that outcome. Becoming who you most want to be is simple. But becoming who you most want to be is not easy. Just like walking is simple, yet hiking up a mountain is not easy. The procedure didn't change, the context did. So let's talk about context. Let's talk about this cyclical nature of growth, because it's not that most people can't. It's that most people won't. It's not that most people don't get how. It's that they don't have a strong enough why. The path is laid out before you. You just have to be willing to walk down it. Will you? Step one, realize.
You know, at one point in my existence, I was going to the gym every day, every morning, every evening. And I was chiseling out a body that I was proud of. I was getting stamina that I was proud of. And somebody asked me at one point, they said, well, how do you make yourself motivated? And I told them the honest truth. You know what? I hate this. I hate it with a passion. I've never liked working out. I've never liked cardio. I've never liked any of it. And they said, well, how do you make yourself come? I said, because the end result is going to benefit me later on when I need it the most. When there's sickness, when there's illness, when there's all this stuff floating around, strengthening my immune system is going to benefit me in those times. And I don't want to be so out of shape that I can't fight something off and it be my demise. I said I started with taking a few couple steps and feeling like I was going to die. But the next day, took a couple more steps. And the next day, a couple more steps. And before long, I was doing almost 3 miles. I'm 53 years old. And if you've seen any of my shorts, I uploaded a short where I was doing 225 pounds times 7 times. It is difficult for people younger than I to do that one time, much less 7. And I'm not saying that in gloating. I'm just saying that, you know what, my goal one day is to do 23 times. It may take forever, but you know what? That's the goal that I shoot for. And when I don't go, when I don't do anything active, when I don't stretch, I feel like I'm missing something. It's not. It's not a moment in your day, but a part of your day. It's almost like getting up, putting your shoes on. Well, what's next? Well, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It is that part of your day. Whatever it is that you use for exercise, whether it be working in the garden, whether it be walking around the block, whether it be walking to the end of your driveway, whatever it is to become a part of your day so that you continue strengthening your immune system.
there's more out there. It's not that what you're doing now isn't amazing. It's just that yesterday's act of courage is now today's status quo. What was the spectacular is now the mundane. What was once the ceiling you had to jump to touch is now the floor you walk on. So at the very least, it prompts you to ask, well, what's next? So
You two are right. Elizabeth, you said you used to do hundreds of sit-ups in the day, and now it's hard for you to do 5. Of course. But if you continue doing those 5, before long, you're going to be up to those hundreds. In Aquarius, your body will eventually start to reward you. It's going to hurt. You're going to feel sore. You're not going to feel like doing it every day. But on those days you don't feel like doing it, well, don't do it. But do something to repair your body, such as hydrate with plenty of water, Gatorade, whatever. Stretch. Listen to motivational music, videos, read something motivational so that you keep that momentum going. So the next day, you're motivated to go. Rather than take the day off and eat sweet and all this other stuff that we like to do, try to do something positive for you. And that's for anybody that's watching this. Am I perfect at this? No. Progress rather than perfection.
simple, not easy. Step 2, the acquisition of courage. Yesterday's courage was a fight. It took a lot out of you, and it's ultimately what got you here. But it dropped you at the curb, it waved goodbye and went on its merry way, and here you are. You can stay here. A lot of people do. You can reminisce of the glory days, the old path, yesterday's triumphs. Or you can do that perpetually uncomfortable exercise of vulnerability. Stepping into tomorrow's unknown, reminding yourself that life's greatest rewards have a hefty price tag, and that price is discomfort. But I've already played this game, one might think. No, what you did was learn the rules. Now it's time to apply them to a new setting, and around goes the merry-go-round. It might seem like a replication from the horizontal, but here's the secret. You can't see the vertical. You have yet to look down and see your ascent, see what you're becoming. Just by staying on, holding
Good morning,
tight, just by
Kristen.
believing in yourself enough to begin again, you are fanning those tiny flames of courage in your soul that wait.
It does take courage. It takes those moments where you refuse to give up no matter what. We were faced with the pandemic not so far ago, and a lot of people perished. A lot of people perished. I've lost family members, friends, a lot of people that had health problems that they weren't dealing with. And the pandemic, well, it took them out. I've caught that thing like 3 times, I think. And thankfully, by having strong lungs and everything else, hopefully it didn't do as much damage as it did to most people, but it starts with you. And I'm not just talking about physical strength. I'm talking about mental strength. Mental strength works the same way. If you do something for yourself on a daily basis to mentally motivate you to be a better you, then you won't fall into the traps of the world sucks, this sucks, that sucks. You'll have that mindset, well, you know what? It might not be pleasant, but I'm going to go through it because I only get this once. This isn't a dress rehearsal. This isn't waiting until the day that we're no longer here. If that's what you choose to do, that's you. But for a lot of people, that's not good enough for them. You know, it's not good enough to sit around and wait for the day that we're no longer here. They're going to do the most with what they have. And if they don't have a lot, then they're going to make it up as they go along. Because that is progress.
To be spread like a wildfire. Simple, but not easy. Step 3, mistakes. Now, of course, it's not the mistakes themselves you fear. It's what you think those mistakes will mean. Ridicule, embarrassment, lack of direction or identity, losing what you have. But here's the catch. When you realize the upside is greater than the downside, you liberate yourself. When you realize there's more to gain than to lose, your potential for greatness is born. How does one act on this? Mistakes. By making mistakes. By injecting yourself into the turbulence of progress. Our biology has not yet learned that the uncomfortable thing is the right thing. And that's why you get resistance. That's why it hurts. And it's why few people will accomplish what you will. When it comes to your climb, every day is opposite day. When they run out, you're running in. When they play safe, you play for the victory. To become who you might be, you must learn how to get there. Mistakes are your curriculum. Simple, but not easy.
You know, people talk about money and finances and all these things, and they worry about being financially successful. It's because they're not all in. And I know it's easy to say that and harder to do. But exactly what could you reinvent your day that you spend money on that you could kind of leave a little behind and just put that away for a rainy day? I'm not talking about hoarding. I'm talking about financially being stable where you have stuff in case something breaks, in case you're rushed to the hospital tomorrow. Many of us don't have that savings to back us up because we work hard and we have a lot of bills and we don't make that much. That's understandable. But even if you put $5 a day somewhere where you can't touch it, it will add up. Maybe not as fast as $300 a day, but it is going to add up. Give yourself that opportunity to be financially stable. Here we are in April. January wasn't far away from April. 4 months. Most of us had New Year's resolutions. Most of us had dreams of a 2025 that was going to be better than 2024. If you were going to evaluate your 2025 at this point, could you do better? Could you invest more into your life? Or are you on a steady pace to meet those goals that you set forth a long time ago? I just ask these questions because these are some of the questions that you need answers for in order to reevaluate and do an inventory of your life.
Step 4, trust yourself. Okay, sure, no problem, easy. Well, yeah, it's easy when you're getting what you want. But evolution takes time, and there's nothing quite like giving and giving and giving and not getting. There's nothing quite like stepping up to the plate again and again and again and bringing no runners home. So how does one find the strength to continue walking up to the batter's box? Well, growth is exponential, and those swings and misses matter. The infield singles matter. Everything matters. Because it's all chiseling your future self out of stone. Nothing is dependent on the next at-bat. as much as all at bats in the aggregate. That's why success is so often considered to be sheer will, dependent not on the home run, but on the discipline, the self-belief to keep walking up to the plate. Repetition and adjustment. Repetition and adjustment. Repeat and refine, repeat, refine. Those are the materials from which all things are made. Simple, but not easy. And then we have the finale, the ending, step 5. Celebrate and adjust. At some point, you'll be able to look over your shoulder and notice something that perhaps you hadn't before. Space. Space between where you are and where you started. It's not sudden, but gradual. And undoubtedly, with enough persistence, it will emerge. These moments, they are precious. They are times to acknowledge what you've accomplished, the sacrifices you have made. They are life's way of reminding you what you are building and who you are becoming. It's a time of celebration. Every little win means something. Every small victory matters, so relish in it. And then transform it.
Nothing truer. Nothing more honest than that. You know why people don't like self-help or they don't enjoy positivity? Because I've been told that it makes them feel bad about themselves. It makes them feel like they have to look at themselves in the mirror and actually see what they don't like when they try so much to ignore it. When you have to face what you don't like about yourself, it's hard to stand there and look at yourself in that mirror because then you have to do something about it. You have to do something about it. You can't no longer ignore the fact that it isn't the world that is the problem, but maybe it might be you and your perception on life that is the problem. You know, as I put that mirror up over there in that other panel, don't look at how much it costs, but look at the beauty of it. Because you're using this as a tool, and you usually get what you pay for. If you look at the price and you're instantly thinking, oh my God, that costs so much. I could get one at wherever so much cheaper. Well, that's true, but how many of those cheaper ones have you went through because they just don't last the test of time? They don't last the kids or the grandkids running into them, breaking them. And not to say that this would even stand the test of time either. But there's sometimes you got to take that gamble. You got to take that gamble. That is part of treating yourself good. And I know it's hard to understand when you're struggling for money or you're on a fixed income or whatever. But you should always get yourself just a little bit of something to remember that it is you that benefits from your own goals and attributes. See, a lot of people would not pay $190 for this mirror that sits on a shelf like this. They just wouldn't. I can't say I would unless it served a purpose. But what have you spent $190 on that you've just wasted that $190 for whatever reason? You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to make a point here. Many of us state that we won't do certain things because of the price, but we continue to feed something that's not making us better in life. We're not making better decisions. We're not making better choices. We're making the same choice each time. Now I'm putting this up there. Now, if you were to see this, I'm going to have to look at it. It looks like pineapple, looks like some kind of bell pepper, red onion, lettuce, edamame, and something else. Now, if this came um, already made, and you sat it before me, I would eat it. No questions asked. But if I had the opportunity to eat something unhealthy, and then you sat this in front of me, this would never win out. I can promise you that. No matter how much my mind telling me you need to be healthy, you need to stop eating bad. I tell you, I'm not perfect either. I falter. Not because I want to, but because, for so long in my life, I was raised on junk food. I was raised on, things were easily made. I'm trying to change that. I really am. I eat a lot more fish and a lot more chicken, a lot more vegetables, a lot more fruits. Not because I want to, but because if I continue eating these the way that I've been eating in life, my doctor says there's a high part of potentially getting diabetes. So I've seen what that does to people, and that's the last thing that I ever want to happen to me. Because once that happens, it never stops. It seems like you're always fighting the battle of something that has stopped working in your life. The insulin resistance to break down the sugar. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you want to start something today, start small. Give yourself the opportunity to be great at the small things. That way, when you manifest up to the big things, you won't worry about being a failure. You won't worry about looking silly, but you'll enjoy the simple fact that you tried. No matter how big of the accomplishment, you still suited up and you still showed up. I hope that y'all enjoyed that this morning. And that is the end of my Serenity Sunday. And I will see y'all again soon. Y'all take care out there.